Hello, this is Jenny Gaston for Primitive Quilts and Projects. I have a project in the fall 2020 issue, and it has wonky flying geese. That's not the name of the pattern though, I don't think. But anyways, this is a paper piece quilt project, and in the magazine you will see precise cutting instructions. I personally, when I see a lot of precise cutting instructions, a whole lot of them, it makes me steer away from doing a project. I just like to wing it and do things simple, and so I just used from my scrap pile, and let me see if you can see. I've got some scraps right over there next to my machine. A nice pile of lights and darks. And then let's see if I can get you. Okay, got you right here. Whoa, sorry about that. And I've got my first piece. I'm gonna start at the bottom and work my way to the top. This, where you see the actual lines, that is the back of the block. So you have to remember that your first piece is going to be facing away. So you put it like that, put the paper on top of it. I can see that it fits within all those lines. And then I'm just gonna flip it over. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. Yep, that's what I want to do. Okay, then I'm going to get a light fabric, and I'm just going to cut a chunk off of there that looks like it'll fit over that rectangle with plenty of space. And I want to sew one of these lines. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to do this one. So I'm just going to remind myself that that's on this side, and I'm going to want to put the fabric right sides together this time. So I'm just going to lay it on there because I know it's going to be an angle, and then I'm just going to peek under there, make sure that I've got it where it's going to cover up that line. And it can be more than 1/4 of an inch past the line. That won't hurt anything, as long as you have enough that's going to cover it up when you flip it over. So I'm going to sew it up. So you can pin it, but I'm not a pinner. I just carefully flip it over under my machine. I'm going to set my machine stitches very small. If you keep your stitches nice and small, it'll be really easy to get that paper off when you're done. Okay, so I need to make my needle come down on that point. And I'm just gonna, I gotta pull my pedal closer to myself. It always wants to walk away. All right, just sew on that line. And then you want to sew past, I sew past the outside line, cut it off, and then just carefully, without moving the fabric at all, pull it over to your cutting mat, and then just fold the paper back only. And then I like these add 1/4 rulers, but you could use another ruler. What I like about these is they have a little edge, so it just grabs a hold of your paper, and then you can cut off this excess fabric and toss it on the floor. Or if you have a trash can nearby, you can put it in your trash can. Okay, so then I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna press this and then open it. And then I'll be trimming some of this extra stuff off just with my scissors roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm gonna press that real quick. Okay, all pressed. Now I'm just gonna cut some of this off of here because I don't really want it to be flapping in the wind while I'm working on the sections. So I'll just cut that out of my way. And then grab another light piece. Here's another one. I'm gonna cut a nice little chunk off of there. I know that there is more waste when you do it this way, but it's worth it to me. If they're big pieces, that are left over, you might be able to use them on another paper piecing project. I don't know, but okay, so here we go. So I'm gonna have right sides together. I know that this one's gonna go this way. I'm just gonna peek, see where that line is under there, and make sure that my fabric is gonna cover it, and flip it over. I like to start at the point because I think it's a little bit easier than trying to stop at the point. And sew. Okay, I'm gonna slide it over here to the cutting mat really carefully and fold the paper back. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut off that excess. So I'm gonna flip it around since I'm right-handed. And trim that off. And now I'm gonna press it, but you can see that it's gonna be a cute little flying geese. Okay, all trimmed up. I'm just gonna get some of that extra stuff off of there. We'll make it nice and perfect when we're all done, but just take some of that off of there. And you might be able to use that for something. I have a friend who collects the scraps and fills up pillowcases with them, and then she donates them to her local shelter. Here's a nice piece that'll fit. It'll fit over one of those little squares there. So we want it to be, let's see, it's gonna go like this. And then when we sew it, it'll come up like that. So I wanna see where that line is. It's way down here. I only need it to go a 1/4 inch past that line. And I'm gonna sew that down. It's really easy. I mean, you couldn't get much more of an easy block. Okay, I'm gonna slide that over here. Just fold the paper back. Now I'm gonna get rid of all that excess. This ruler's a little bit small for this wide of a piece. Okay, now it'll get pressed up like that. I just recently moved my sewing table around a little bit, and it's not really the best setup right now because I have to stretch over to the iron. Not that stretching is bad for me, but I have to stretch clear over there to reach my iron. So I think I'm gonna have to figure out another way to have it moved. Here's another pretty light print. I'm just gonna cut some off of there. Okay, so it's gonna go over here. I'm just gonna lift the paper up so I can see. You can lift it up. You could lift it up to a window or to a light if you can't see it, but I can see it pretty good right there without doing that. So I'm gonna put that right there. And let's see, which one was it? It's this one. So I'm gonna sew right there. You just have to kind of get your head around it. I know the first couple of times I did paper piecing, I really had to think about it so that I didn't really mess it up or put something on the wrong side. But you kind of hate to get all the way through a block and then mess up the last piece. Okay, all right, let's see. Leave it like that. We'll flip the paper back, and it's, you know, since I'm sewing past the line, it kind of gets in the way, so you can kind of pull that away so that you can fold your paper back and then cut all that excess off, leaving you with a nice 1/4 inch seam allowance. And see, that'll get lifted up. Nice and easy. All right, and you don't really have to do all this trimming as you go, but I like to. I hope I'm doing this so you can see it. I kind of new to doing this, so let's see. Here's another. Ooh, isn't that pretty? I love that piece. So we'll just put that on there like that. See where the line's at. It's clear down here, so I only have to go right there. Flip that over and sew it. Fold that back. Do you like my fancy sewing machine table? I just noticed, you can probably see that in the video. This was, I think it was from Arrow Cabinets, and we had it at our shop, and it never sold, so I just took it home, pretended it was like a paycheck, and then the opening wasn't large enough for my big Janome, so my husband just took a jigsaw to the table so that I could put my machine down in it. And I really like it, but it's better if I have it pushed up against a wall, because it shakes a little bit when it's not really probably made for such a heavy machine, but it's been working for me okay. Nothing fancy, nothing too fancy, except for the machine. I love the machine. Okay, see how it's going? So we'll just keep on going like that until the very end. I've got one done. Ta-da! And I'm just getting ready to trim off. I did trim off one side because I had one that I wasn't so sure if it was over to the edge far enough, that it was. So I'm going to flip that over, and you trim on that outside line. Find my ruler. Okay, so we're just going to trim that off. And it's so nice because you have these beautiful, perfect blocks. They go together so nice in your quilt. And there you have it. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? So with the using the little tiny stitches, it makes it really easy. You could just fold the paper back, and it just comes right off. There's really no work to it. Kind of get your thumbnail under there, or you can use tweezers, but it just comes off really easy. It doesn't even tug on your fabric. It just peels right off. So that's what I like about using the little tiny stitches. So there you have it. That's how you do the wonky blocks. I hope you have fun, and thanks very much for joining me. Bye.